So I get this question all the time: why did you leave America? And when people find out that I'm currently living in Dominican Republic, I can see the confusions on their faces. I can see them saying like, hey, I know the country has beautiful beaches, nice resorts, but why would anybody want to move from a great country like the US over to the Dominican Republic? And my answer to that: not everyone thinks the United States is great. Now, do I see America as a bad country? No, not really, because there are some good things about it. But if you remove the best quality of America, which by far is the greatest country in the world to earn money, then it's just an average country compared to anywhere else. Now, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. People like to think, especially nowadays, that if you're for one thing, that you gotta be against another. Therefore, I must hate America. And that's simply not true. However, there are some things that I dislike totally about America, but hate is a strong word. Like most people born in the US, I thought the United States was the end all be all. And how could you not? From the day you're born, they sell it to you like that. But also you see the glitz and glamour that kind of reinforces the narrative that America is the end all be all. But back in 2009, I traveled here to the Dominican Republic on a business trip. And something about that visit, it just totally changed me. I didn't know what it was at the time, but that experience in itself kind of lingered with me over the years. I would travel at least 2 to 3 times a year for the next several years until I finally moved here permanently in 2021. The culture, the people, the way of life, it all kind of put me in mind of how America was back in the 80s when I actually grew up. So here are my 5 reasons why I decided to leave America, but keep in mind, they're in no particular order, so let's get to it. Number 1, the growing tension and division. The America I grew up in the 80s, that America no longer exists. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I'm there, or even when I'm watching the news here in Dominican Republic, I can hardly even recognize the country. America, in my opinion, has lost some of their greatest strengths, like their social norms, their traditions, their morals and values. And I say morals and values in quotes because not that it always had morals and values, but man, they're totally lost nowadays. Having lived outside of the country for 2 years, on the outside looking in, looking at America, it looks like a free-for-all. Everybody seems to be on the edge. I feel uncomfortable when I'm out in public when I'm there. Here in Dominican Republic, I don't feel uneasy out in public. You see people enjoying themselves, having a good time. Nobody seems to be on edge here. But in America, oh man, everybody's on the edge. Number 2, the high cost of living. The high cost of living is making it almost impossible for people to just live a normal life, especially in major metropolitan cities like Miami, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston. It's just making it almost impossible. Before moving to the Dominican Republic, we lived in the Fort Lauderdale area, and our monthly expenses came out to be around $4,600. That included the rent, utilities, car insurance, health insurance, you name it, it all was included in that. When we moved here to Dominican Republic, we cut our expenses down by 50%. And at the same time, we upgraded our lifestyle because the accommodations here were cheaper than living in Florida. And to be honest, we could have cut our expenses down by 65%, but we choose to live where we live. We wanted the same type of accommodations similar to what we had back in Florida. Which leads me to point number 3, the continuous rat race. And the funny thing about this one, you don't really realize you're running a race until it's almost too late. You're just subconsciously reacting, living the same life over and over each day, chasing this superficial goal that doesn't have any real purpose, at least for the most of us. Yes, it's okay to have a big house and the nice cars, but at what expense? Your quality of life, which many of us have sacrificed and still sacrificing just to pretend we have money, only to create more and more debt. So tell me this, what's the point of working just to pay bills? Here in DR, we have a better quality of life. Being able to cut down on the expenses has allowed us to enjoy our lives a little bit more. We're able to save a little bit more. We're able to invest a little bit more than what we did when we were in Fort Lauderdale. Number 4, the excessive and senseless violence. From mass shootings, gun violence, to police brutality, this part of America, in my opinion, has got way out of control. And the thought of me raising my daughter in this environment, in that nonsense, I'm telling you, as a parent, I'm terrified. I mean, think about sending them off to school in the back of your mind, having a thought that they may not even make it home. I mean, this wasn't even a thought when I was growing up back in the 80s, that when you sent your kids to school, the possibility of them not coming home was not even a thought. This has just gotten to be ridiculous. There was a saying that went wrong place at the wrong time. Nowadays, that doesn't even matter. You could be at the right place at the wrong time and your life could be over. And when I say right place at the wrong time, meaning the grocery store, a restaurant, a park, a lounge. These are normal places where normal people go, and then to have to think about when you're going to these places that you may not even make it home. I mean, let that sink in. But living here in Dominican Republic, a thought like that never crosses my mind. And number 5, racism. Yep, good old racism. I know racism is everywhere. And to be honest with you, it's not going anywhere, at least not in my lifetime. As a person of color, I have to be completely naive to believe that racism doesn't exist outside of the United States. As a black man, I know that I'm subject to that no matter where I live on this planet, that racism at some point will be an issue. The question is, how big of an issue would it be? I can tell you right now, in America, it's a big issue. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist in the Dominican Republic, because I just said it exists everywhere. But it's the level of racism in the United States that's the problem. In the United States, racism will get you killed. There's no evidence that racism here in Dominican Republic will get you killed. I just haven't seen any evidence of it. Another thing about racism in the United States that is systemic. Here in Dominican Republic, I don't see where racism is systemic, meaning there are no laws that they create to keep you from having anything, doing anything just because of the color of your skin. It's not systemic. You may have a person here that may be racist. You may have a group of people that may be racist, but there's not a concerted effort here to keep you from progressing just because of the color of your skin. If you got money here, you can do pretty much anything you want to do. I say when it comes to Dominican Republic, it's more about classism than it is about racism. Number 6, the feminization of men. As with the senseless violence, this one too has gotten totally out of control in America. Men are no longer able to be men in America without being accused of being toxic. If they're not accusing you of being toxic, they're trying to throw a dress on you. If they're not trying to throw a dress on you, they're showing you images of 2 men in their emotion. Honestly, I have no clue what's going on. Every time I watch a show nowadays, you're seeing some sort of image that's pushing this narrative. I have certain beliefs of how I believe the family structure should be, and I'm sticking to it. Now, I know it's hard to get away from these images because they are everywhere. I'm sorry, you could disagree, that's fine. I don't have to agree with anybody's lifestyle. I'm only telling you how I feel. And number 7, I wanted to live in a majority black country. And I can hear people always saying, well, you know what? There are several countries in Africa where you could have went and lived. And you know what? You're right. And you should go live there if that's how you feel. At this moment in my life, it is what it is to me. And for me, I wanted to move to Dominican Republic. Not that I have anything against Africa, because I don't. At some point, I would love to spend 3 months out of the year in Africa. But for right now, it's Dominican Republic for me. And the reason why I want to live in a majority black country is because growing up in America, you're always the minority. And they never let you forget it. On the news, you know, there's minority this, minority that. I mean, you're constantly being bombarded about you being a minority. And not only that, you're even looked at, and sometimes, a lot of the times, treated as the minority. When you go to these black countries, and this is not Dominican Republic, I mean, you could be anywhere in the Caribbean, you know, you go in these, even Jamaica, you know, Barbados, Bahamas, any of these countries, man, you go to these countries, you're not treated as if you are a black person. You're just treated like a normal person, exactly how I'm treated here in the Dominican Republic. like I'm a normal person. Nobody looks at the color of my skin. They say, oh, he's a black man. They just treat me like a normal person, like a human being. If anything, I'm treated better because I'm an American versus because I'm black. So the feeling to walk around here not feeling like a minority, I'm telling you, it's hard to even describe. It's like a weight just released from your shoulders. Trust me, give it a try. And I know people saying, Dominican Republic ain't this, Dominican Republic ain't that. And you know what? That's fine. It could be whatever it is to you. That's your business. I don't care. But right now, it is what it is for me, and that's all that matters. I don't believe that there's a perfect place here on the planet, but there is a perfect place for us as individuals at certain times of our life. And right now, it's Dominican Republic for me. In 5 years, will I feel the same? I don't know. Does anybody know how they're gonna feel in 5 years? I don't know. Maybe. So these are the top reasons why I left America. Leave a comment below. Let me know what the reasons are for you wanting to leave America and if you're planning to do so. So until then, guys, be present and live your best life. I'm out.
You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, I know.